Hey, Amie,
Yeah, Juan.
give me that beat.
It's Baseball Shangri-La with Amie Cuevas and Juan Ramirez.
What's up, party people? She is Amie Cuevas, and I am Juan Ramirez, and welcome to another episode of Baseball Shangri-La. Let's get the business out of the way. First of all, if you guys are listening on the audio portion of the podcast, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, rate the podcast, write us a review. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, hit that notification button, give us that thumbs up, and send us comments. Let us know what you think. Make sure you're following us on social media on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram's Threads and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. Just a little programming alert. Last week, we dropped content every day of the week. We did 5 episodes, and it kicked Amie and I's ass. So I'm not saying that we're never going to do that shit again. And I know it's my fault because I was the one that promised that, and Amie was ready to kill me for doing that. But if you follow us on social media, you will know when we're dropping content. So please make sure you follow us. Amie, how are you? Long time no see.
I got a little sun this weekend at spring training. It was amazing.
That's right. Now we start the show as we always do with base running blunders, but I'm perfect, so I don't have any. Amie, what about you?
I'm just living in your shadow of perfection because I don't have any this week either, unless you guys know something that we don't. So
That's me and my shadow. Okay, so wow, Amie just threw up in her mouth a little bit. If you're
I
watching on
did.
YouTube, you probably saw that. You probably saw
Mhm.
that. So since we don't have any base running blunders, let's start off. And as Amie said, Amie was reporting live. She was down at Camelback Ranch this weekend. And so we're going to start off the show. First of all, Amie, how was your whole spring training experience? Because I know there was some crappy weather when you first got there, right?
Yeah, so Thursday they had the game. It ended up being rained out. So we thought the weather was clear. I checked it before I left Friday morning and it was supposed to be all sunny. And then the clouds rolled in partway through the game, which was it was just odd because we had great weather up to that point. But spring training on the whole was amazing. I it just I'm sure you can relate to this too. It just reminds me of the long days that these guys put in because we put in almost the same hours that they do. We get there early, we're going from either scrum to scrum or just following them while they're working out. It's just it is a good reminder to me that these guys don't just show up and play 2.5 3 hours of a game. Like, they are putting in the work.
And let's clarify, guys. So Amie was there in a media capacity. So she was covering the game. So it wasn't like she was sitting out out on the lawn. When she's referring to the long days, she was getting there early to do the pregame scrum. So please tell me more. Inquiring minds want to know about your spring training trip.
Thank you, Juan. This is why you are such a good co-host, because you add that descriptor that I forget to put in sometimes in my haste to because I'm so excited. Um, so we started most days, Friday not included, but like Saturday and Sunday we were there around like 8 or 8:45, depending on when the game started. And so Saturday was, I think, like a 105 start. Sunday same thing. So we get there early. We treated to, like, a media spectacle that first day. Juan Toribio of the I think MLB.com
Yeah.
ended up throwing a bullpen. We'll have to get him on at
How,
some
how did
point.
how did that come about? How did that come about? Because I think I'm going to try to talk to Toribio to get his version of the story. And for those of you who don't know, Juan Toribio, who is the beat writer for the Dodgers on MLB.com, is an elite athlete, but it's more on the basketball side. How did this whole bullpen come up, Amie?
We'll have to get his story from his side. Like, I heard pieces of it, and I don't wanna give away his whole story, but there were things that were going on, comments were made last season, And so basically it got called out like he said he could throw a certain mile per hour. So he got out in the bullpen area where a lot of the pitchers practice, and he threw a bullpen. He threw about 15 pitches. They had the radar gun out there. Initially the highest he got was 59, but upon review he actually hit 60 miles per hour. And I got to give that guy credit. Throwing from that mound all the way to the catcher's area, like it's far. Like, and he did it. 15 pitches, he made it over the plate. So kudos to him. I got some pictures of him. He ended up posting something, reposting on Twitter later that he was icing his shoulder, and it was all in good fun. But Joe Kelly came out to watch. You had a lot of the executives out there, so it was just everybody kind of having a good time. Just spring training, kind of just fun out there.
So that picture that I saw of him icing his shoulder, was that courtesy of you?
No, so he took that and posted it on the pictures that I had posted of him pitching earlier. So he basically was like, this is what you have to do after he's on a couple days of rest obviously between pens, because, we don't want to tire him out.
So I know a lot has been made about the size of the crowds. And I'm not talking about fans. I'm talking about just media. But that was at the beginning of spring training. Now you're here towards the tail end of spring training. Was there still a lot of media attention there?
I would say for the number that we had last year that were there, I mean, you were there last year too. We had just about as much of Japanese media there. So at any given point, I think there were 10 to 15 people. We just moved to a different area. They had us kind of in a shaded spot. They had risers, so some of the people with cameras could stand up there and record. But it was a lot less than what was at FanFest. So those huge crowds that you saw, I think they planned it better this time around. So we had easier access into Dave Roberts or like Mookie Betts when we interviewed him. And then they have it planned out for when we're in the locker room or the clubhouse. And then also when we do the post game with Dave. So I think they got a pretty good handle on it, but I think the crowds were definitely a lot less than before.
But I saw you hanging out with Will Ferrell. So how's your friend Will? Did you quote like stepbrothers to him? Like when
Oh
you
my
were
gosh,
standing next to him?
we're besties now. No, I was across the way from him in the scrum, but so the only reason we even knew he was there, Bill Plunkett had actually said prior to that to Dave Roberts, "Hey, somebody's coming for your job," which was totally out of context, non sequitur. So I'm recording, and Bill Plunkett's like two people over from me, and I'm like, "What is he talking about?" And then all of a sudden, we see Will Ferrell come in and whisper into Dave Roberts' ear that, "Hey, I'm huge in Japan," and so the hilarity kind of ensued from there. We thought he was going to play in the game. He was there with a couple friends to watch. So not going to lie, a little bummed. I wanted to see him on the field, but it was great to see him out there. He came out, went to some of the practice fields, saw some of the players. So it was a good time.
For those of you who don't know, there was a few years ago a documentary, I believe it's on HBO, where Will Ferrell played every position but for different teams. And I think he did it all in one day, right, Amie?
I believe so. Yes. Yeah. So that's what I was hoping for, because when he came back, if you watch some of the video of the media scrum, former player, Dodgers acquired him in a trade, he's going to play in the game today. I even made sure to kind of hang out behind home plate with my camera just in case he got called into the game. He did not, but I was hopeful.
Well, since we brought up Will Ferrell, I got to know, what is your favorite Will Ferrell movie, Amie?
Oh man. You can't put me on the spot like that. He's done so many good ones. I'm going to need to come back to that so I don't make a base running blunder on myself. I mean, obviously Talladega Nights is good, but I feel like I'm going to have to go through his videography and find my favorite. So I'm putting a pin in that one.
Okay, who's the film snob now, right? She won't even answer the question. And let me tell you, whenever I ask what is your favorite Will Ferrell movie, there's only one answer. There's only one correct, acceptable answer, Amie. And I'm surprised at you, honestly.
What Step Brothers?
Absolutely, Step Brothers.
I mean, it's good. It's funny, but
wow. Wow.
I feel like there are other I feel like I can't put my finger on the one that's my favorite. He has a lot of different parts, especially what is it in the one with Mark Wahlberg? I love that.
The other guys,
Yeah, the tuna scene where they're talking about, like, how the tuna will come back. Yeah, I'm not even gonna try to
yeah,
quote it right
the
now. I am
best
not
the best
running on a
line.
lot of sleep.
Michael Keaton is fantastic in The Other Guys with his constant references to TLC. But the best line in The Other Guys is when Mark Wahlberg goes, "I'm a peacock. You have to let me fly." So The Other Guys is good, but come on, Step
I'm not
Brothers.
saying that's my favorite. I'm saying I am gonna put a pin in it because I am not running on a lot of sleep right now, and when you throw questions to me like that I haven't thought about, my brain goes blank. So I'm just like, I can only think of 2 movies right now.
It's so disappointing. Amie, it's Shark Week. What are you doing? It's Shark Week. Um, I get it. You're not an investor in Prestige Worldwide, but that's fine. We
Forgive
digress.
me. Forgive me.
So was there anybody that you spoke to this weekend that stood out for you, Amie? Or anybody say anything that was interesting?
Um, so, I mean, there were some of the media scrums. I don't know how much they posted about Mookie Betts. I'm sure we'll get to that because I have some quotes from his interview that I think he did on, oh gosh, I think it was Friday, after everything was announced. And again, we'll transition to that later. But just talk to a couple people. A lot of times, when we're in the clubhouse, we're mostly there trying to be respectful, not getting in players' ways. Talk to Bobby Miller for a second about just the flight, and they're leaving for Korea on the 14th, and just kind of chatting there, but not really. It was more just getting pictures, kinda, following people around, just seeing what the routines were. So some of the days, I think it was Saturday after the Mookie Betts and Gavin Lux swap was announced, we saw the next day that, Miguel Rojas was working with Lux at second base, and Mookie was working with Dino Ebel at shortstop, and seeing them just run drills and going out there and, seeing the team work together and stretch on the other field. Shohei's out there, kind of messing around with the guys. And so it was more just seeing them gel as a team as they're going through these workouts, and then also being there, for the games, and seeing how that all plays out. So, like I said, a lot of long days. Um, but it was just a good reminder. Got to talk to Kirsten Watson a few times. She puts in a lot of hard work. I really appreciate the work that she puts in. So getting to have a chance to just chat with her and, catch up it's I don't know. The whole experience, it goes by in a blur because there's so much going on. There's so many people there. There's so many things happening between the practice fields, between the games, between, coming back and forth for the interviews. But it's just you can feel everybody's excitement for being there, and whether it's fans, players, media, everybody has a goal in mind, and we're all just focused on this team getting to the regular season. So,
You mentioned excitement, but you also mentioned the telenovela. Before we go into the telenovela of Gavin Lux, the excitement that you're talking about, did it translate in terms of the crowds? Because sometimes when I watch the games on Spectrum Sportsnet during the week, there seems to be a lot of empty seats, but I know on the weekend it's a completely different animal. Ryan Yarborough was on Foul Territory, and he had mentioned that I think in terms of attendance, I think they might have broken records at Camelback Ranch in terms of their attendance for spring training. But I mean, did you see that translate? Were the fans all out this weekend?
there
Considering
were
it was the last weekend before the Dodgers go to Korea.
So it was the last weekend. It was also, season ticket holder or Dodger membership, whatever you wanna call it. It was their appreciation week, so there was a lot of that there. I think when I was there last year, like, you'd see people gather around the fences where the players typically run in, and then around the practice fields, and then trying to get autographs when they're moving between the fields. It just felt like those crowds were thicker around those areas, but I can't say that it felt like there were more people per se. It just felt like they were concentrated in those specific areas where I felt like it wasn't as tight, last year. People waiting to get interviews, people waiting for Shohei to come through, Yamamoto, even people watching because there is the Dodgers office, and then there's the training facility. So if you ever see any shots on, Sportsnet LA, you'll usually see where the guys throw the bullpen, and that whole area. If you look between the buildings, you could typically see like Shohei working out. There was a day that Yamamoto was throwing the javelin, so you'd see more people gathered on the fence line there to be able to just see through the buildings to catch just whatever they were practicing, and just get their eyes on either of those players.
Okay, I know we talked about this last week, but after we talked about it, that's when all hell broke loose. And
Mhm.
the telenovela that is Gavin Lux commenced. And so the Dodgers, to the surprise, I think, of many people, decided to switch Gavin Lux and Mookie Betts. So now instead of Mookie Betts being your starting second baseman, and by the way, I believe MLB Network had named him the top second baseman before the season even started. So I'm not sure now if they changed their shortstop rankings now that Mookie's going to be playing shortstop and Gavin Lux is now moved over to second base. And I know that on an episode last week, I was telling you guys, look, the Dodgers are going to give him, they're going to give Max Muncy time. They're going to give him at least 2 months. Well, that didn't happen.
The
And
Dodgers were like, "Hold my beer, watch this." What did one say?
yeah, exactly. This is all done on purpose to make me look bad. But Amie, you were out there when it happened. What was the immediate response I got when I saw the news that they were moving Gavin Lux to second base? I thought to myself, they need to trade Gavin Lux because I think the Dodgers just destroyed that man's confidence by moving him over to second base. But you were there in spring training. You were there getting the reaction from Dave Roberts. You said you have quotes from Mookie on Friday. How was the chaos that erupted when they announced that move?
I don't know that it was so much chaos. I mean, none of us obviously were expecting it. Dave Roberts made the announcement. Obviously, the media had questions because I don't want to say people were expecting it based on Doc's comments the previous day about, basically not putting his full confidence behind it, but we all were kind of in the same track that you were. They're still going to give them time to play this out. We still have another week or so of spring training. So for 24 hours later to then swap those positions, Mookie kind of put it, he was the one who he was just very nonchalant about the whole thing. And I don't know, I really just appreciate the guy's mentality. And so he came out and basically, I'm sure you guys have all seen the quotes. I just don't know how much they posted on Sportsnet because I know sometimes we're there getting a longer interview and they'll post pieces of it. But basically, he said it is what it is. It's the task that they put in front of him. Nobody cares what he has to go through. He doesn't care. He's just going to be ready to go. And he said that he did, message Lux that, nothing changes other than their view of home plate because they're just swapped. So he basically said he doesn't care. He just wants to win. This is a new year, new him. And he went because people kept pushing, kind of what you're saying, like, what was the reaction? What's going on? He said, guys on the inside don't care. The outside people care, which is kind of what we were talking about last week, where it's like, I think more people on social media are making a bigger deal about this where the guys on the inside, it's like, all right, where are you going to put me? Okay, I will do my best to be good at that position as long as we win. And that's kind of what we were getting from Mookie was basically like he doesn't care. The guys in the locker room don't care. They just want to win. And he said essentially there's always a lot of pressure. Being a Dodger is a lot of pressure. Being a shortstop for the Dodgers is pressure, but he likes it. He's going to take the challenge and he's going to turn around and do it. He was drafted as a shortstop. So he's just going to go in and give it his all. And Dave Roberts came back the following day in the media scrum and basically kind of reinforced that. He was just saying that he didn't expect the transition for either of them to be easy or simple, but he does expect them to improve. So I saw a lot on social media when the guys were in the next day working their positions and some mistakes were made and it's like guys they literally just swapped like they haven't even had 24 hours to adjust to this. They've done a couple drills but they haven't been in an actual game. Like they're going to do the best that they can in those positions. And I think that was for me just again another reminder of like these guys are doing the best that they can. They're getting handed down different orders. Gavin Lux really wasn't available to media after that, but like when you would see him in the clubhouse, it wasn't like he was moping or anything. He was there doing his practices and being out in the field and giving it his all. So from what I saw, those guys were pouring their hearts into the new change and trying to make the best of it.
I just feel so bad for Gavin Lux because not only, for them to do this to him, and who knows if they had conversations about this before going into the season, but he is so under a microscope now. everything he does, and you had mentioned it, the first game when he was playing at second base and he made some bad throws to first base, everybody was just like, send him down to the minors. He's got the yips. I just like, I want to be fair to everyone here in this situation, because the fact is the Dodgers are trying to win a World Series, and they, it's World Series or bust, right?
They're working
So
out the kinks though right now. Like if I took you in your job and I planted you in another position that you knew kind of I know the gist of it, but I was like, "All right, now I want you to operate at 100%." All right, you're going to need a little bit of an adjustment time, and you're going to probably have questions, "Hey, how do I do this here? How do I do that?" He knows the position, but he's got to get some reps at it. We didn't even give him time to have reps. He's had what, maybe 2 games. He didn't even play today.
but that's my thing, right? Is what is the organization's job here? What do they owe Gavin Lux? And for me, what they have to do is put the players in the best position to succeed. And I have to really sit here and ask the question, did the Dodgers put Gavin Lux in the best position to succeed? Because the history of him having throwing issues is not anything new. This goes back to 2019. So a lot has been made of the fact that the Dodgers spent $1 billion in the offseason. So you spent all this money, and during the offseason, you were confident that Gavin Lux was your shortstop, and he has a bad week, and all of a sudden now you're going to move him to second base. I have to question, look, up until this point, the Dodgers, they have made a lot of moves that look very good on paper. But this one to me is a head scratcher. And this is why, again, I have to wonder, is this fair to Gavin Lux? But also, Amie, is this fair to Mookie Betts? Bill Plaschke wrote a very interesting article on the LA Times this weekend saying, this is how you treat your star? You're going to make him play shortstop. And we still don't know because, of course, immediately once the move was made, the trade rumors are out there and Willie Adames' name comes out again. And I know this is a lot of casual fans. Just go ahead and make the trade for Adames. And just like the Dodgers have no leverage here. The Brewers know, oh, you guys have a mess over there at shortstop. If you guys you want Willie, the price just went up.
But
right?
I don't think we have a mess. Like, so if we're looking at the Dodgers making these decisions, they're watching Lux progress through the offseason and after post-surgery. It looks like he's on track. You're not going to see what his production looks like till you get him in some games. He was only in like 2 weeks of games and he didn't play every day. When he first started out, they were warming him up at DH. So he's only had like a week and a half at shortstop. If they're identifying things, again, this is also what I'm just going to say the crowds were clamoring for was get him out of shortstop. Okay, so they listened and they did it. And now it's like, okay, well, we did it, but we don't like the decision you made. Well, okay, where do you guys want to put him? Because his other position that they can try him at is second base. He got 2 days, maybe 3 days at it. That's it. Like like if we're asking like is it fair of the front office? I think from a progression standpoint, off season to trying him out here, okay, that looks like it might not be working. His body either hasn't adjusted after a whole year off, and then now we've put him in this spot and we're not seeing him where we want to see him at. So let's move him to second base. As we know, Mookie's willing to play anywhere on the field. He's pretty much good anywhere. So that's the trade you make. But I don't think it's necessarily a mess. If Lux doesn't work out at second, you move Mookie back to second base. You've got Rojas, you've got Kike, you've got Chris Taylor. You have people who can work that shortstop position and your infield is still intact. So I think I don't think they're listening to social media of like, this is why we moved Gavin Lux from shortstop, but they're identifying the same things that people are seeing. So they're making those tweaks. I just don't like, it feels like anything that they do, it's going to be under a microscope, just like Gavin Lux, and they're not going to win.
So it doesn't come off to you as a panic move, because a panic move, because the sample size is really, really small. So it's like, look, if you guys were this prepared to move off of him this quickly, then I have to question what made you guys think he could play shortstop?
Wasn't that what everybody was asking for last week, though? Get him out of shortstop. He can't play shortstop. The guy can't throw across the field. Like
Right, but the
that's what people
organization,
were saying last week.
yeah, but the organization's supposed to be smarter than us. They're supposed to, I mean, they're the ones that have this master plan. They're the ones that have access to all this information. They're the ones that see this guy all the time. So to me, it just makes me scratch my head to be like, wait a minute. You guys were ready to commit to him to be the shortstop last year. If it wasn't for him tearing up his knee last year, he was going to be the shortstop. So are you guys really making the decision based on the reaction on social media? Because again, the sample size to me, like you said, it was a week and a half. The guy hasn't been on the field in more than a year and a half. There's got to be some rust involved. And so that's why I was expecting them to let him start the season. Now, if the season starts and he is costing you games, then yes, you can't do that. But to do it in spring training, and then not only that, ask Mookie, who the whole reason why you moved him to second base was to try to save him, save some energy. But now you're going to ask him to play shortstop, one of the, if not the most demanding position on the field for and no, it's not going to be 162 games, but we are in uncharted territory here because Mookie has never played shortstop for a full season. So that to me is like,
Not in the majors, but he played it in high school. And like he said, he was drafted as a shortstop. The guy's played all over the field. Even if he hasn't necessarily played it in the MLB, it's not like this is the first time he's ever been plopped into this role. And if you guys remember from last year, the 16 games or so that he did play at shortstop, he had some amazing plays. Those were like after the game on Sportsnet, they were replaying, like, look at the grab, the leap, and the throw to first base. So it's not like they just moved him and we're like, oh God, this guy sucks at shortstop. Like he can play there. He might need a little tuning up because it's been a minute, but I mean, the guy he's not new to the spot.
look, I don't know who's right or wrong in this situation, but to me, this move is just very surprising because this is an organization that is very methodical. They have reasons for doing everything that they're doing. And for me, I'm just not used to them making, and maybe rash is not the right word in this situation, but it seemed like they pulled the trigger awfully quick on
We
Gavin
also don't
Lux.
know what his like his physical training, what they're seeing on the back end too, because it's not just in the games that I'm sure that they're basing this off of. What are they seeing when he's working out with trainers, when he's going through his rehab? There could be factors there that are playing into this, and they are not beholden to us to give us all that information. So I'm sure it's not necessarily rash for them, but I mean, it's probably quicker than a lot of us would have thought. But either way, like the team is being set up to win. So wherever they end up putting Gavin Lux, or if they, hey, maybe while we're stretching him out, we do need to send him down to the minors for a little bit because that's going to be in his best interest to get the reps that he needs. Or you know what? No, we leave him at shortstop and see how it, or shortstop, second base, and see how it goes. I don't know. We don't know how that's going to play out. And like you said, it's a small sample size, but what we're seeing is either it getting to him mentally or he's not fully stretched out. And either way, the season starts next week. So
I know a lot has been said that about his mental strength and his mental toughness, and that he's not allowing this to get to him. But look, the dude is human. I automatically felt when the move was announced that his confidence has been crushed. Like, to be told, hey man, and the thing is when he initially was in the Dodgers farm system, he was a shortstop. And then the Dodgers moved him to second base. Now, I get it. The move was like, hey, the Dodgers already had a shortstop. They had Corey Seager. They had Trey Turner. The only way you're going to make it up to the major leagues is you're not going to do it playing shortstop. You're going to have to move to it. So I totally get that. But at the beginning of spring training, what did we hear from Kevin Lux? Oh, natural shortstop is my natural position. So this is going to be great. And then after a week and a half, for the Dodgers to be like, oh, what have we done? Now, moving him over, it's something to because you are right. More information may come out later because the Dodgers aren't necessarily the most forthcoming organization. They do not tell us everything. So there may be more information that comes on later on about why they made this move. To me, it's something that's very surprising. It's something that has caught my interest. It's something I'm going to keep an eye on. But Amie, do you think there is a possibility that they're going to make a trade? Or, hey, we have Mookie and we have Miguel Rojas. Let's see how this goes.
I'm just curious, what if we're all projecting? What if they told Gavin and he's like, all right, cool. I just want to play. And he's like, yeah, second base, sweet. I'm going to go out and I'll start running these drills with Rojas at second. What if we're all making much ado about nothing? What if he said, just like Mookie, okay, cool. I just want to win. And that was the end of it.
I hope that's the case. I really hope that's the case because, again, he's in the major leagues because of his bat, and so as long as his defense is not costing games, whether he's playing shortstop or he's playing second base, that's fine. For me, this is more, on this show, we like to, focus on the human aspect of baseball. And for me, I just felt so bad for him because if my employer put me in a position like that, I the first question is I'm thinking, are you setting me up to fail? And it's like nobody's gonna like that. It's just like, dude, I don't want to, And like I said, everything this guy does, and I get it, he's a major leaguer. Anything he does, anyways, is going to be under a microscope. But that first game, you saw. He bounced the throw to first base, and immediately everybody's like, "Oh, dude, he's got to start down in the minors. He's got to not only."
But he also he stabbed the ball and threw it to Mookie on one of them and got the out. But nobody was talking about that. Like in the game yesterday, yes, Bobby Miller did get an earned run off of that mistake and it was not a great one with Lux and CT3 right in front of second base and the ball just dropped in. Nobody grabbed it. But there was another play after that where he caught the ball like it is his job to do and he threw it to first. But nobody's balancing it out like, wow, that was an egregious play by Lux and CT3. Nobody called the ball, but like, hey, but look, he got the out on the other one. All we're doing is focusing on the negative, and I'm hoping that the narrative is if maybe it is setting him up better to be at second base than shortstop. Maybe they are wanting to see him succeed, and seeing him succeed isn't going to be shortstop this year. Maybe seeing him succeed after a year off, he can't throw across the diamond. He doesn't have the mobility that is required for that position right now, and second base is the place that is going to give him the best spot to succeed. I guess that's the place from my sunshine and rainbows that I'm coming from of like, I'm really hoping that that's what the organization is trying to do to set him up to be successful versus like, let's just move him to another spot and hopefully this shakes out better because we know Mookie can do whatever. I'm really hoping that this is the focus, taking that kind of human approach of like, we want to spare his feelings, his mental mindset and his body. And this is the place where he might actually succeed better.
I hope that's the case. I really, because I'm rooting for the guy. The guy's been through a lot. I hope that's what ends up happening with him. I just, for me, it was just my initial reaction it's just, I feel bad for him for stuff like this. And look, they both Mookie and Lux have said the right things. They have said the things that you want them. These are not selfish players that are out there saying, no, this is my position. I need to play this position. Both of these guys are saying the right thing. And it's like, whatever you guys need me to do to help this team win, I'm going to do it.
Mookie said it doesn't matter how you get there as long as you get there. And I think that's the mentality a lot of these guys are taking.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, I don't know how much it's going to cost them in the regular season, but I think you are correct in your assessment of projection. I think that what we're projecting here is the fear that in the playoffs, the defense, the infield defense, is something that I think people are very concerned about with Max Muncy at third, look, Mookie is just an elite athlete. The few games that he played shortstop last year for the Dodgers, he looked like a natural at shortstop. But he's going to be there longer, and we're going to see him more. And he even, that first game that he was at spring training playing shortstop, he also muffed a couple of balls, and people were just like, and that's again, oh, the Dodgers need to trade for a shortstop. The Dodgers need to trade for a shortstop. Again, whether these guys can
It's
succeed in
less
those,
than 24 hours. Give the man a second to just breathe at the position. Like, yeah, he's gonna probably miss a couple, like mess up a couple balls, but like that's where you want him doing it. And if they assess that before, we get to Korea next week, you still do have Rojas for some of those situations, especially in the beginning of the season. I am a firm believer that every game counts, but this is the infield we have. So everybody's upset if we have Lux and Muncy on the left side and the left side is weak. So we swap it around. We bring in Mookie to bolster it, and we move Lux over hoping that makes a difference. Now people are up in arms about a different thing, and it's like, okay, so what do you want them to do? Like, they're not going to go out and get somebody right now. That's going to be, more of the random thing that's going to happen. So what would the general populace like the Dodgers to do then? How do we fill those spots?
I think they're taking a page right out of the Padres book, where everybody's a converted shortstop on the Padres. Like, the Padres have a converted shortstop playing right field. If this Jackson Merrill kid ends up starting, he's a shortstop, but he's going to be out in the outfield. Bogarts is a shortstop playing second base. I think they're just taking a page out of the Padres playbook, where it's just like, look, it's positionless baseball. There was positionless basketball. We have now reached the level of positionless baseball where everybody just plays wherever we put you.
But we have shortstops. We have Rojas. We have Kike. Like, so it's not, if this experiment doesn't work, we have people to plug that hole.
And that, again, is what's interesting to me, is you had other options. Why did they decide that Mookie at short was the best option, as opposed to having Chris Taylor or Kike play short? That's
Because I
what,
think
to
they're
me,
giving Lux that opportunity, though. Like, they're still letting him have a chance to earn it before they're just like, okay, you're clearly not our option anywhere. If they give it to Rojas, to Kike, to CT3, that means Lux is out. Because if you keep Mookie at second, where are you going to put Lux? If you're
right.
like, nope, he is not our shortstop. So I think this is their way of still giving him one last opportunity before it's like, all right, we're going to plug the hole with these people who are in this position and move Mookie back over. And
Again,
Mookie's the one who can do it. He can slide back and forth.
and again, what's keeping him is his bat. What's keeping him they refuse to go to Chris Taylor or Kike for a solution because they want Gavin Lux's bat in the lineup, because he's a left-handed hitter also. Again, the fact that whether Mookie or Lux can do this physically and pull it off, that's the least of my worries. For me, what really caught my attention with this story was how quickly the organization made this move. Like, if they would have done this in May, or even if they would have done it at the end of April, it wouldn't have surprised me, right? Because it's like, look, we gave it a chance. This is not working. But for them to do it after a week and a half, where this guy hasn't played in-game action in more than a year and a half, that's what has my head scratching, to be like, this doesn't seem like an Andrew Friedman move, because I asked you if it felt like a panic move. It doesn't feel like a panic move to you, right?
No, not really. No. I think they're trying things out, and I don't know, again, back to the kind of the projecting, people were like so adamant about having him out of shortstop. So I'm surprised that, the organization made a move. It actually coincided with what social media was saying. And it's like, I'm hoping these guys don't take it personally. I'm hoping that they have the mentality that Mookie is saying, that it doesn't matter how you get there. It's just as long as you get there. And that's really where we're going. And it's like, hey, I mean, you have people who like, hey, I want to be the starting pitcher. I want to be the one on opening day. And it's like, but you're not going to be that person. We're going to put this person in. And it's always for the good of the team. You're playing for the name on the front, not the name on the back. So I'm
Yeah.
just hoping that's what it is.
Look, I don't think this is the last time we're going to talk about this. I mean, we talked about it last week. We're talking about it now. By the time this episode airs, we're probably going to hear news that the Dodgers traded for a shortstop or something like that. I'm sure this is going to be an ongoing conversation. So I
Let
want
me
to.
calm you with a happy thought of Matt Kemp was at spring training. He was at Camelback Ranch this weekend, so he got to
Did you get a
interact with
chance to talk
fans.
to him?
I didn't get to talk to him, but I got some shots of him. He made sure when he came off one of the practice fields to come sign a lot of the baseballs for fans, and so he was interacting, and it was just good to see him out there again. He looked really happy. So there's your happy thought, so I can calm you like the little dormouse in Alice in Wonderland. Like, calm down, little guy.
Well, let's get me all riled up again before we end the show. So, last topic. I don't know if you saw this, Amy. There was a food survey that was conducted, and this was for all the major league ballparks. And so there were a lot of factors that went into this survey. So, here are some of the factors that took into account: the number of concession stands per square feet inside of the stadium, the cost of a hot dog, and the cost of a beer.
And the capacity of the ballpark.
Oh, and the capacity. Thank you. And the capacity of the ballpark. So they took all of that and averaged it out, and they ranked the teams 1 through 30, all the Major League Baseball teams.
And we were number 1, right?
Hell no. The Dodgers were number 27 when it came to this food survey. So, Amy, and you know what maybe was the worst insult? Was that the Angels were number 25. So they were ahead of. This is a stadium, Angel Stadium, where they had rats in their kitchens, okay, in the concessions. The Dodgers were worse than them, Amy. We were
but
worse.
they didn't have a category for rats on here, because if they had,
we would have kicked the ass. So I'm curious, Amy, your reaction to this. Do you think it's warranted? Before I hear you, though, I do want to applaud the Chicago White Sox for number 6 on this. And for me, they do have the best food. I love going. Like, Wrigley Field to me is a beautiful stadium to watch a game. If you put it on your bucket list, a day game at Wrigley Field is a must. Now, in a perfect world, I would do a day game at Wrigley Field with the food from the Chicago White Sox. Because let me tell you, the White Sox food is delicious. They got bratwurst. They got sausage. That food is fantastic at the White Sox Stadium. But your reaction to where the Dodgers rank, and do you think that's a fair ranking?
well, because we're going by the cost, I mean, yeah, it makes sense. If we have one of the most expensive hot dogs, they were saying that the Angels and the Dodgers both have a $7 hot dog versus like the Mariners where it's $4.
And the Mariners were number 1, by the way, for those of you in this who wanted to know who the number ones, it was the Seattle Mariners.
And the Dodgers are charging 99 cents per ounce of beer versus the number 1 ranked Mariners, who are charging 33 cents an ounce per beer. So for me, I'm not shocked. And to your point, I think I haven't been to probably as many ballparks as you have, but I think it was the Fenway Frank I had in Boston was pretty top notch.
I had their lobster sandwich when I went to Fenway Park. I parked the car too far from the yard.
Our prices are pretty pricey. There's a reason that I bring my own snacks and I eat before I go to the ballpark, and I bring my own water in because it's cheaper for me to do that and go to more games than it is to get a $7 hot dog.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, Amy, because I feel like I have been doing that for years. The minute I found out that I could bring my own food to Dodger Stadium, I was just like, what the hell am I doing? Because honestly, I got to tell you, for many reasons, I think this is a fair ranking. I am disappointed with the food options and the concessions at Dodger Stadium. The lines are extremely long. And I know that the Dodgers, I do believe, and this may be a base running blunder, but I believe the Dodgers had the highest a capacity in terms of the number of seating that they can hold. I think, I'm sure the fans are going to let me know, but I think it seats more than Yankee Stadium. But But I feel and this there was a perfect example of this last year when they used the pitch clock. So many fans were complaining that they were standing in line for 3 or 4 innings, and by the time they got back into their seat, it was the 6th or 7th inning, and they had already missed half the game because of the speed of play. So
That's why I don't eat there. Unless you get in right when you go and get food at that point, you're not going to eat, or you're going to miss the game, like you said.
yeah, I think the concession stands is a fair criticism. I also think I know a lot of people blame the hot dog, the Dodger dog, because of the fact that Farmer John's not doing it anymore, and a lot of people don't like the new Dodger dog. I look, I'm going to be. I said this before when it was Farmer John. I don't think the Dodger dog was anything to write home about. Okay,
It was the experience of eating it in the park and the fact that it was a Dodger dog. That's what makes it delicious. It's if I gave you a blind hot dog test right now, you'd be like,
Actually, you'd say the ones at Costco were better. I'd
Yes.
rather have a hot dog from Costco. The reason why, let's be honest, guys, the reason why you like Dodger dogs is because Vin Scully hypnotized you into thinking that you had to like the Farmer John hot dogs. So I think that's fair. I think the cost of beer, I think I'm very curious if they looped in the michelada into the cost of beer, because I believe the michelada was maybe $26 last year.
It's a little pricier than a regular beer. And to save you from a base running blender, Dodger Stadium, according to the Googles, is the largest stadium in MLB. So it's got 56.
Oh yeah, so there's no air there. I was right. I was right.
Mhm.
So I think those are all fair criticisms. But yes, I am one that brings my food to the stadium. I would go to the Norgay. I get my torta de milanesa, and I bring in my bottle of squirt, and that's how I watch the game. And when I'm in the press box, yes, they provide food there. But I have Mama Cuevas, who sits next to me at the press box, and Mama Cuevas packs a lunch for me because I'm a little boy I'm a man child who can't take care of himself. So instead of eating all the junk that's in the press box, Mama Cuevas makes me my little sandwich. She has it wrapped up for me. She brings me my bag of chips. She gives me my napkin. She she lays it all out for me as we were watching the game from the press box. So thank you, Mama Cuevas. I appreciate you looking out. A juice box would be nice next time. Just saying.
You want a juice box or do you want Capri Sun?
Oh yeah, Capri Sun's good too. We're gonna take that.
All right, we have our press games coming up soon, so I will pack accordingly. Hey, I even pack ice so that our sandwich stays cool.
That is very true. She does. Mama Cuevas is no joke. This woman knows how to. She knows how to pack lunches, guys. So
sustenance is important when we get there at like 9 a.m. and we don't leave till 6 p.m. after the game. So we got to make sure we have energy.
Yeah, I'm not eating any stale food when Mama Cuevas is there for me. So I appreciate her taking care of me. But I thought it was interesting, this food survey. I'm curious to see if you Dodger fans agree with the fact that the Dodgers were ranked 27th.
Or what do you guys bring in when you go in?
Yeah. What do you guys sneak into Dodger Stadium?
It's not sneaking. You're allowed to have food. And as long as you have closed plastic, like drinking containers. So sodas, water. I bring in Cinnaholic sometimes. Sandwiches, In-N-Out. You can bring food in. Every once in a while, they're going to ask you to unwrap it just to make sure. But for the most part, security is pretty cool about that. It's in the, if you go to the list, it's there. We're not sneaking it in. Don't worry. It's not a George Lopez skit. We're not putting it in the gloves and trying to get it in.
That's true. Just go to the Norway, guys. Get yourself a torta de milanesa, and you'll be fine. So that's going to do it for this episode. Amie, any last words?
Go to spring training if you get a chance. It's amazing.
Well, it's a little too late now because they're on their way to Korea.
No, they've got one more game tomorrow. Hop on a flight right now. I'm sure it'll be super cheap.
So this is a reminder, guys, if you're listening on the podcast, on the audio version, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Write us a review, rate us. This is the way it helps us grow the show. More people then find out about us. If you're
rate
watching
us better than Dodger Stadium got for their concessions, please.
Yes, please. 5 stars, please. how many stars they give you, give us all the stars, okay? If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, hit that notification button, give us the thumbs up, and leave us comments, and follow us on our social media on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, Threads, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amie Cuevas, and I am Juan Ramirez. You have been listening and watching another episode of Baseball Shangri-La. Amie, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.